Namaste and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to explore the central theme of chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, which is contained within verses 26 to 47. These verses describe the dilemma that Arjuna, the warrior prince, faced when he saw his relatives, friends, and teachers gathered on the opposing side of the battlefield. Arjuna, who is supposed to fight in this upcoming battle, is filled with doubt, confusion, and despair at the thought of killing his own kin. We will be discussing Arjuna's grief, his excuses, and the external and internal battle that he faces in depth. We will also explore some of the key themes and insights that can be gained from studying these verses and how we can apply to our modern life issues which we currently face. Before moving on to the next chapter, let's equate some of the concepts which we have seen so far to the daily issues of the human being. There is the outer battle of Kurukshetra, which we have seen so far. That outer battle can be equated to the inner struggle or the battle of everyday human being. The Pandavas in this outer battle can be equated to forces of righteousness within a human being. The Kauravas who are fighting against Pandavas can be equated to the forces of ignorance within a human being. The battlefield of Kurukshetra, where this war is taking place, is the everyday challenge we as a human being faces. Lord Krishna can be equated to the wisdom of the self or even God himself. Arjuna, who is a devotee at this point of time seeking guidance from Krishna, can be equated to an ordinary human being. The game of dice, which ultimately led to the war of Kurukshetra, can be equated to all the uncertainties we as a human being faces. The chariot in which Arjuna is riding can be considered as the human body. The reins and horses of the chariot can be considered as the mind and senses. Please keep this in mind while exploring the concepts in the upcoming chapter. Now let's look at what happened in verse 26 through 47 of chapter 1. This forms the central theme of chapter 1. Now let's summarize what Arjuna actually said and what are the reasons he doesn't want to fight. The first reason is compassion. Arjuna, though a fearsome warrior, he was kind-hearted. He shuddered at the thought that he will be fighting to kill his own family members. He will be shooting arrows towards Bhishma, his great-grandfather, and Dronacharya, his gurus. He remembered his childhood days when he would sit on the lap of Bhishma and the great-grandfather would caress him. Bhishma loved him so much, but today he was standing opposite to him to kill him. How can he do so? In the same way, Arjuna also felt there are 100 Kauravas and all were his cousins. All of them were not bad. For example, Vikarna was a righteous person. Many were his younger brothers. On top of it, there were thousands of soldiers on both the sides. And this is a family conflict. What were their crimes? Why to put their lives on risk? Why should they die? These are the thoughts that ran on the mind of the compassionate Arjuna. The next reason Arjuna thought was false enjoyment. Arjuna thought even he is victorious, he won't be able to enjoy the kingdom. In order to win the war, he has to kill his own family members. His adorable grandfather, Bhishma, his guru Dronacharya, his uncles, brothers, all will be killed. In their absence, even if he wins, he will still be a loser. Fame and fortune cannot be enjoyed alone. To enjoy the fame and fortune, he needs to share it with somebody, especially his family members. But if they are killed, with whom he will share this joy? This thought ran in Arjuna's mind. And the third reason Arjuna thought was the fear of sinful reaction. Even though he knows Duryodhana and his brothers are aggressors, and they are not on the right side of Dharma, he was worried that if he engaged in this ghastly war and killed the enemies, he will be committing sins. Because killing is a sinful activity, and if we kill others, we will incur sins, and sins will lead to suffering. This fear of suffering due to sins of killing others occupied Arjuna's mind. The fourth reason is a very important one. It is the fear Arjuna had for destruction of dynasty. He thought when all the assembled warriors in this war gets killed, what will happen to their families? Who is going to give protection to the elders of those families? The children will become orphans, women will be unprotected. If the elders of the family are not there, who will guide the younger generation? In the absence of proper guidance, dynasty will be destroyed. And the destruction of dynasty will create chaos in the society and bring a greater disaster. And then Arjuna started to think about what will happen if a dynasty gets destroyed. He thought, with the destruction of dynasty, family tradition gets destroyed. When family tradition gets destroyed, the family members start practicing irreligion and non-spiritual activity. When irreligion increases, the women of the family becomes unguided. This would cause unwanted progeny. The unwanted progeny causes hellish life for the family and for those who are responsible for maintaining family tradition. These unwanted population will not follow any religious tradition, because of which the ancestors will fall down, the community project and the social welfare will also get affected. Arjuna contemplated that the destruction of the dynasty will bring calamity upon everybody. The final thing in Arjuna's mind was indecision. Though Arjuna gave all the reasons as why he did not want to fight the Mahabharata war, he did not know if this was the right decision. He was confused. He was not convinced by his own argument. On one side of the mind, Arjuna knew that Duryodhana was cruel, he has committed many sins and he has to be punished. But on the other side, Arjuna was also thought why he needs to be part of this unnecessary violence. If Duryodhana was so adamant to be the king, let him be the king. He thought that he can even live by just begging. This conflicting thought became a big indecision in Arjuna's mind. After all these conversations and thoughts in Arjuna's mind, finally Arjuna came to a conclusion that he has no power in deciding what is right. Finally, Arjuna takes shelter of Lord Krishna. Standing between both the armies, the fearsome warrior, Arjuna was feeling helpless. Arjuna had given 5 reasons to Krishna as why he did not want war, but still he was not sure if not fighting was the right decision. He was not able to make the right decision. Arjuna, the mightiest of the warriors on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, decided to take shelter of Krishna. He sought Krishna to become his guru and guide him, who was now his surrendered disciple. In the upcoming chapter, you will see how Lord Krishna advises Arjuna to follow his righteous path. And also, you might wonder how Lord Krishna's advice to Arjuna in a battlefield is anywhere related to the modern world issues we as a human being faces. Now we know how the concepts are equated. Let's look at the situation and how it can be compared to the everyday issue we face. In the outer battle of Kurukshetra, the Pandavas are fighting the Kauravas. If we equate to the concepts which we just discussed, it is same as the force of righteousness within a human being is fighting against the forces of ignorance. The battle is happening in Kurukshetra. In the inner battle, the battle is the everyday challenge. In the outer battle, Arjuna is seeking guidance from Krishna. In the inner battle, the ordinary man has to seek guidance from his own wisdom and God. This outer battle started because of a game of dice. And as a human being, we have to face between our own forces of righteousness and our own ignorance every day because of the uncertainties in life. Like a game of dice, the life is a game of chance. We will never be sure what is expected from life. Now, let us look at the comparison chariot. The chariot is compared to the human body. The horses is compared to the senses. The reins or the ropes which connects the horse to the chariot is compared to the mind. If you look at a chariot, the chariot always follow the reins and the reins always follow the horses. The same way, if you consider a human body, it always follows the mind and the mind always follows the senses. So in order for a human body and mind to go in a right direction, your senses should be in the right direction. If you look at the outer battle, the chariot, reins, and the horses all are controlled by Krishna. Who is Krishna? Krishna is God Himself. He is the Self. He is the Brahman. Since Krishna is the one who is controlling the chariot, reins, and horses in which Arjuna sits, we can be sure that Arjuna is going to get the right advice and he is going to get direction to the right path. Similarly, if a human being wants to lead a happy and fulfilling life, he has to surrender himself, which is his human body, mind, and senses, to the God and to his wisdom of the self. If he does that, he can be sure that he will have a fulfilling life. Please keep these concepts and comparison in mind while addressing the upcoming chapters and the advice of Lord Krishna.